Hey guys, it's Colin with Ghost Train Comics, and we are going to be looking at Transformers IDW release info. This is a check-in video, the latest in a series that I've done. I did one on the legacy origins of Hasbro G.I. Joe Mask, and then I did one on the kind of first 3-year and 3-phase rollout of the Skybound series. What we want to look at today is the next steps in the legacy IDW material and how Skybound is going to be handling the reprints of those. A lot of the issues that came out in the IDW days are now very difficult to find. They've obviously gone out of print with the IDW having lost the license, but even before that stage, they were getting pretty expensive in the collected editions. They are very fondly remembered, and for fans like myself, when they came on board last year, it's obviously something that we've heard a lot about, and there's a lot of familiar names like Simon Furman attached to it, which is, you know, representation of quality. So something that we would like to get our hands on. So let's see where we're at, and let's talk a little bit about the IDW years and what's happening and when we're going to see them again in a new format. So Skybound Entertainment has not yet announced a specific release date or schedule for reprinting the mainline IDW publishing Transformer comic book runs, but they've left us enough breadcrumbs and given us enough information for us to confidently predict, based on what they did with the legacy Marvel properties, and that they've actually now done the first of the IDW reprints. So this is not guesswork, it's not gossip, it's not speculation, it's more of an educated kind of connecting the dots, if you like. So at the 2023 San Diego Comic-Con, Skybound did explicitly confirm that they hold the rights to all of the material that was published by IDW and fully intend to reprint previous Transformers and G.I. Joe material from both the Marvel and IDW eras. Now, the current focus, because Skybound's initial archival priority was the classic 1980s Marvel material, so they did do a massive Kickstarter campaign. For the Marvel Generation 1 Compendiums and scheduled that deluxe release of the Transformers the movie adaptation for late 2026. Now, Skybound has already begun handling the IDW era Hasbro material for sister franchises. For example, they launched crowdfunded initiatives to collect and continue IDW's G.I. Joe A Real American Hero runs. They're already printing it on a monthly basis and collecting those as they go, but now we're looking at the campaigns to actually reprint previous material, which would make sense as that's a direct continuation, whereas the Skybound Transformers that DWJ started and that Kirkman kicked off with the Void Rivals revelation in issue 1 are, I hate to say the word reboot, but they're a rethinking or a new version. Now, because of the publisher prioritized building out their own Energon universe from 2023 through to now, and clearing the Marvel backlog first, comic community expectations and industry patterns point towards potential IDW Transformers compendiums or omnibuses arriving no earlier than late 2026, which isn't that far away, and into 2027. Now, given that the IDW continuity spans over 400 issues, Skybound is widely expected to utilize a tiered Kickstarter format or a multi-volume compendium set to roll out these massive archives once they officially hit the schedule. Collecting the entire IDW Publishing Transformers continuity is a massive undertaking, as the universe spans over 420 issues across 17 years of storytelling between the years 2005 to 2022. Because IDW originally structured their premium hardcovers into a definitive 3-phase format, Skybound Entertainment is highly expected to replicate a similar structure when they eventually roll out their archives. So I will put some visual aids on screen just to help you follow along, so you can see it plotted out versus trying to remember what I'm saying as I go through it. And there's a lot of material, so we can kind of that way just talk about highlights and talk about different title names, and you can look at the actual breakdown and know what to expect and the sheer scale of what to expect. The entire run is traditionally divided into 3 distinct chronological phases. If you want the entire run, this is exactly what Skybound is going to have to reprint. So phase 1 is the Inception and Escalation, approximately 90 issues. This covers the titles originally crafted by writer Simon Furman, continuing on from the Marvel ones, but giving it a new spin. I did have the opportunity to meet Simon back when he was a few years into the IDW run at a convention in Dublin, interview him on that, and he was very enthusiastic about it and very passionate about what he was doing in phase 1. This phase did imagine the Autobot Decepticon war as a stealthy, slow burn Cold War on Earth. Much more mature approach, and for somebody like Simon, who had effectively taken over the narrative towards the kind of last quarter of the original Marvel run, it's not a surprise that he went in that direction, especially after all the groundwork that he had put in with the Marvel UK issues. The key storylines in this phase were the Asian books: Infiltration, Escalation, Devastation. The universe expanding Spotlight one-shots and the soft reboot All Hail Megatron, where the Decepticons successfully conquer Earth. This led us into phase 2, the Golden Era, approximately 240 issues. This covered what a lot of people up to now had considered the absolute peak of Transformers comic book history, following the soft reboot ongoing series, and then the narrative split into 2 drastically different concurrent masterclass storylines. The key storylines here were More Than Meets the Eye / Last Light, a sci-fi space opera comedy tragedy about a crew of B-list Autobots searching for mythical knights. And then The Robots in Disguise / Optimus Prime was a heavier political thriller dealing with the fragile rebuilding of Cybertron and complex alien diplomacy. The Wreckers trilogy completed this phase, which was gritty Black Ops military stories. Last Stand of the Wreckers as a key example of that. Phase 3 was the End and the Unicron event. This was approximately 90 issues, and this covered the grand finale, where the Transformers universe officially crossed over with other Hasbro properties like G.I. Joe, Mask, and ROM into a singular shared universe. This is obviously what Kirkman is doing now, but I think where IDW didn't quite make as strong connections from the ground up on this is why it didn't really take and it didn't last. I mean, that's obviously, you guys are all going to have your opinions on it and have your thoughts and feelings on it, and we all have our preferences for one reason or another. The key storylines in this phase were Revolution, First Strike, and the apocalyptic cosmic climax Transformers Unicron, which definitively ended the 2005 continuity. IDW did do a completely separate brief reboot continuity from 2019 to 2022 within that time frame, but the vast majority of fans seeking the whole run refer specifically to the 2005 to the 2018 universe detailed above. In 2024 and 2025, Skybound prioritized the 1980s Marvel material, successfully funding massive Marvel G1 compendiums, and I'll put some images of those. I have the first one of the US collection, and it is absolutely huge. They did 4 volumes of those, 2 for the US and 2 for the UK material. They're actively clearing the Marvel G.I. Joe backlog and the Transformers UK archives through 2026. Volume 2 of the UK one is out in full 2026. The G.I. Joe Precedent, Skybound is handling the IDW era material for G.I. Joe first. Industry projections would indicate that completing the G.I. Joe archiving will take up the primary crowdfunding slot through late 2026. Again, not that far away. Because of this strict queue, the IDW Transformers reprint initiative is expected to launch its first wave in early 2027. Now, the likely format for this is not going to be individual paperbacks. There's just too much material. Because IDW's old 30-volume IDW collection hardcovers fetch up to $300 to $500 plus each on the aftermarket, Skybound will almost certainly utilize their thick, affordable compendium format that will be with 40 to 50 issues per book for a little bit under $64.99. Expect the entire 420 plus issue universe to be compressed cleanly into roughly 8 to 10 massive compendium volumes. Now, with the success that Kirkman has had recently with the Invincible compendiums, this is very, very likely that these volumes will be rolled out over a multi-year campaign. Mapping out the 2005 to 2018 IDW Transformers universe can be intimidating because it was originally published as a web of interconnected miniseries rather than a single ongoing title. The absolute best way to read the entire run is indeed in chronological publication order, which weaves the flashbacks and character spotlights naturally into the main narrative exactly how the writers intended. Now, we do have a second video that I will be doing on this. There's just too much to cover in one drop here. So we will be doing a follow-up on this where we'll break down the 3 phases that I mentioned above and give you any updates that we've gotten in the meanwhile. But certainly, guys, thank you so much for watching. I hope that you'll join me for part 2 where we're going into a bit more detail and we'll give you all of the titles and information on what to expect. But for me at Ghost Train Comics, thank you so much. Take care of yourself and see you soon.